Camera Raw 18.5 landed on the 4th of August, and there's a fair bit in this one. Now again, I'm not going to read through the whole list because most of it you'll never notice, but there are 3 things definitely worth knowing about. 2 of them I'll deal with quickly because they're small. The third is a proper new tool, and that's the one where we'll spend most of our time. Now those 3 things are a tick box for turning the generative AI off, a couple of additions to the Vectorscope, and a brand new tool for removing blemishes. Now, one thing to say up front, all 3 of these are Camera Raw only at the moment. They're not in Lightroom Desktop, they're not in Lightroom Classic, and this is kind of normal, by the way, because Camera Raw is where this sort of thing tends to land first and Lightroom picks it up later on. But if you've got Photoshop sat on your machine, you can use all 3 of these right now. And I'll be honest with you, that third one is the reason I wanted to make this video. It's aimed squarely at portraits, and I shoot portraits, so it's right up my street. But I'm not going to show you the tool and leave it there, because on its own, it only gets you about 2/3 of the way. I'll take a real portrait all the way through and show you how to finish the job with a couple of things that have been sat in Camera Raw for a while. That's the bit I'd stay for. If you're new here, hit subscribe and give the bell a tap. I'll cover these updates as they land so you'll know what's changing without having to go digging. And if you find this useful, gently tap that like button. It genuinely helps. Right, let's get into it. Now, just quickly on that point about Camera Raw getting things first, because it's worth understanding if you've not come across it. Camera Raw is the engine. Lightroom, Lightroom Classic, and Lightroom on your phone and iPad are all built on it. So a new editing feature has to exist in Camera Raw before any version of Lightroom can pick it up. And because Camera Raw isn't carrying the cataloging and the syncing, it moves quicker and it updates more often. So if you've got Photoshop, you've already got the newest versions of Adobe's Raw editor sat right there waiting for you. Right, let me get a picture open because I want everything from here on in to happen on a real photograph. All right, so I've got this one open in Photoshop and I'm going to work through the Camera Raw filter. So that's filter, then Camera Raw filter. And I'm doing it that way around for a reason, because it's useful to know. All of this is in the Camera Raw filter, not just in Camera Raw itself. So you don't have to be sat in front of a RAW file to use any of it. A JPEG, a TIFF, a layer you've already worked on, send it in here and you've got exactly the same tools. And if you'd rather open a RAW file straight into Camera Raw, everything works identically. So first of the quick ones then, Camera Raw now lets you turn the generative AI feature off. Click the setting icon to open preferences, and there's a section called Generative AI with a tick box that says Enable Generative AI Features. It's ticked by default. Untick it and the generative AI features are no longer active. This is useful if you shoot competition work or client work where generated content isn't allowed, or if you'd just rather not have those tools sat there. And one thing worth knowing, because I've not seen anybody else mention this, it's per machine. So if you work off a laptop and a desktop, you'll need to do it on both. It doesn't switch off denoise or super resolution or the ordinary remove tool. Those aren't generative. It's specifically the 3 that create new pixels out of nothing. All right, so the second quick one, the Vectorscope, has had a couple of additions. Right-click the histogram and choose Show Vectorscope. You can now set red to sit at 3 o'clock, which lines it up with the scope's video editor's use, and it will give you lab values for precise numeric readings. If you're matching skin tones across a set and you'd rather work to a number than to your eye at 11 o'clock at night, that's where you do it. And if that means nothing to you, do not worry about it. Right, that's the housekeeping done. Let's get to the main stuff. This is the headline, and I've got 2 pictures for it because there are 2 sliders and they do completely different jobs. Here's the first one. A young guy that I photographed recently as part of the Wex Summer Roadshow, and I've picked him deliberately. He's got genuine blemishes across his forehead and his cheeks. This isn't a model with 2 freckles and perfect skin. This is a real face with real blemishes on it. Now, the new tool lives in the Remove panel. Open that up, and there's a section called Distraction Removal, and inside it, an option called Blemishes. Click that, then tick Apply. All right, so I'll let that run. Now, that's the automatic pass, and it's not a one-shot filter. It's one click, and then you take control. And taking control is where the actual work is. The slider that matters on this picture is amount. The amount slider deals with temporary blemishes, spots, acne, the things that would have cleared up on their own in a fortnight anyway. And what it's controlling is how visible those marks are. At 100, it takes out everything it's found. But bring it down and it only deals with the prominent ones and leaves the smaller stuff alone. Watch what happens as I bring that down. You can see the smaller marks coming back first and the angry ones holding on the longest. So it's just an on-off switch. You can sit it somewhere in the middle and take the worst of it out while leaving the skin looking like skin. On this picture, everything I want gone is temporary. There's nothing on his face I'd call permanent. So amount is doing all of the work here. Now let me show you the other slider, because for that I need a different face. This is somebody just with a small mole. And a mole is a completely different proposition because that's not a spot. That's part of what this person looks like. It'll be there next year and the year after. That's what the fade slider is for. Fade handles permanent marks, moles, freckles, beauty spots. And here's the thing I want you to take away from this whole video. Fade's default setting is 50. So look at what's already happened here. Before I've touched a single slider, it's already halfway through fading the mole. It's subtle, and that's exactly the problem. It's subtle enough that you might not catch it, and you've still had a decision made for you about somebody's face. So watch it properly. If I take fade up to 100, it's gone completely. And if I take it down to 0, there it is, exactly as it is. Now, 50 is probably a sensible place to start. But for portrait work, I think it's the wrong starting point because it's making a judgment that ought to be yours. So what I do every time is take fade down to 0 first. See the face as it actually is, then decide. While we're here though, I'm not convinced Adobe have got the names right on these two sliders, amount and fade. They're both words about degree, how much and how far. There's nothing in either of them that tells you what they actually act on. You have to be told. I've just had to tell you, which rather makes the point. If it were up to me, I'd name them for what they act on, not for how much they do it. So instead of amount, something like spots or breakouts or blemishes or temporary marks or just clear up. And instead of fade, something like moles and freckles or permanent marks or character or natural skin or soften. Take any of those two lists and you'd know what each slider did without a single word of explanation from me or from anybody else. Right, back to it. Refine. This is the bit that makes the tool worth using rather than just tolerating. So I want to spend a minute on it. Click Refine and you get a brush with a size slider and 2 modes. Restore brings the original mark back. So if it's taken off something you wanted to keep, a beauty spot or a scar or something that's genuinely part of the person, you brush over it and it comes right back. Remove goes the other way. Anything it missed, you brush over and it goes. That's what one click and refine actually means in practice. It does the tedious part, then hands you a brush to argue with it. Now, one more thing before we move on. If you've got more than one person in the shot, you can pick an individual face or choose all people and treat everybody the same, which is really handy for family groups. But be careful, because all people puts the same amount and the same fade on everybody. And a 15-year-old and their grandmother do not want the same treatment. Now, back to our first picture, and let's have an honest look at where we've got to. The spots have gone, but the redness hasn't. So there are 2 completely different problems on a face like this, and they need 2 completely different tools. The first is the texture, that's the spot itself, the raised bit, the mark, the thing you could feel if you ran your finger over it. That's what the blemishes tool deals with, and deals with it really well. The second is tone. That's the redness in and around where the spots were. That isn't a mark you can lift off. That's the colour of the skin underneath. And if you've ever watched a makeup artist at work, you've already seen this. Concealer goes on the individual spots. That's the texture. But But before that, they'll put something down to even out the colour of the whole area. That's the tone. Two different products because they're two different jobs, and doing one doesn't do the other. The Blemishes tool is the concealer, and it's very good at it. But it isn't the base. And on a young lad's face, that redness is very often more of what you actually notice than the spots ever were. So we've done half the job up to this point. So let's do the other half. And this is the bit I said to stay for. I'm going into the masking panel. I'm going to use a brush. Now, some of you will be thinking, hang on, there's a face skin mask sitting right there. Why not use that? That's a fair question. So let me explain why not. A face skin mask selects all of his skin, every bit of it on the face. And the moment you make a colour adjustment inside that mask, you're moving the colour of his entire face, including all of the parts that were absolutely fine to start with. You'd be fixing the blotchy bits by dragging everything else down to match them. And that's kind of backwards. So I'm brushing just over the areas where the redness actually is. Soft edge with plenty of feather so everything blends in. Right, with that brush mask still active, I'm now going to choose point colour, which is within the masking adjustments. Now, I'm not sampling the red, I'm sampling the colour I want that area to look like. So I'll go to a bit of his cheek where the skin is even and healthy, and I'll take that. So what I'm effectively saying to Camera Raw is, right, that's the target, that's what I want this patch to end up matching. Then I bring in the variance slider, and this is the one doing the heavy lifting. Variance controls how much of the surrounding colour gets pulled towards what I've sampled. Widen it out and the reds start blending in towards the target, and the whole area starts to read as one even tone rather than kind of like a patchwork. And because I brushed rather than selecting the whole face, I can afford to be reasonably generous with that. The mask is already doing the containing for me. That's the payoff for spending the extra 30 seconds with the brush. And then it's just fine tuning. Hue if the blend has gone slightly the wrong way. Saturation to take a bit more heat out of it, or put a bit back in if I've gone too far. And because it's all inside the mask, nothing else is being touched. So using the new blemish removal in combination with point colour, let's take a quick look at the before and after by just pressing that / key. So this is before and this is after. And it's worth stepping back for a second because not that long ago, this would have meant a whole lot more work. Healing brush, maybe a hue and saturation adjustment layer, maybe even frequency separation if you were thinking of being really thorough. But we've just done the whole lot inside one dialog and in a couple of minutes without adding a single layer to the file. Now, there's a bit more in this release rather than just those three things. A couple of bug fixes worth knowing about. Manual transformations weren't respecting the enlarged canvas, and there was a problem with content credentials on the Google Pixel 10. Both of those are sorted. There's new camera and lens support as well, and I'll put a link to Adobe's full list in the description rather than read the model numbers here for you. But that's Camera Raw 18.5, and if you take one thing away, make it that phase slider. Take it to 0 before you decide anything else, because the default is quietly making a decision about somebody's face that really ought to be yours. And the second thing, which is that the Blemish tool is only doing texture. Tone is a separate job. It takes about 30 seconds with a brush and point colour, and it's the difference between a photo that looks retouched and a photo that just looks like the person on a good day. And listen, if you want to carry the conversation on, I host a free photography community over on School, where there's an active forum, you can share pictures, get proper feedback, and hang out with like-minded people who, like you, love photography. There's also a classroom with full-length courses and tutorials, and it doesn't cost anything to join, and the link is in the description below. Right, that's all from me, so I'll see you in the next one.